but I have to say, it was a lot had to do with the fact that I was supported by my local community. I lived in Vancouver, suburb of Vancouver called Coquitlam, land of the pink salmon. You didn't know what that means, but now you know. And I'll never forget, the Coquitlam City Council provided me with a grant of $500 so I could pay my way to go to Belgium in 1981 and try my hand at racing in Belgium on my own. It was, it meant a lot to me back then for my local community to help and assist me in that way, and it was pretty special. So that's another story. I want to tell you a little bit about my day at the Tour de France. It was a pretty special day. You know, the little bit of background, maybe I'm not sure how much you've seen there, but I was, with the 7-Eleven team, we're sponsored by the Slurpees. There's no Slurpees in America. In Europe, and people there had no idea who we were, what we were about. We're just these American jokers showing up at the bike race. It was our second year as a pro team. We raced in Italy mostly in '85. This is 1986, and we had no idea what we were doing, really, honestly. We hadn't pre-written any of the courses. This is before the internet, so we didn't know what was coming. We just showed up at the start line, and our team director, Jim Okowitz, who's still involved in bike racing today, running the BMC Pro team, just told us, just go out there, do what you can. So after the prologue, which you guys all know what is now, what it is. I was the best placed rider from our team in about 20th place, 17 seconds down on the overall time. So the next day, the first road stage was an 80-kilometer road stage, which is relatively short for pro racing, but the trick was, in the afternoon, was another stage. So there was 2 stages in one day, called the team time trial, where you ride in a group with your team and to get the fastest time over a certain distance. So the morning stage was 80K, and I figured, well, that's relatively short. It's just like riding a race in North America, a criterium, as we call it. I'll just wear what I normally wear for an 80K race, which is what we call a skin suit. Another term for you guys, which is an aerodynamic lycra suit without any pockets, one piece. And I showed up at the start line. All the guys on my team are like looking at me going, "What are you doing, Alex? Why are you wearing that? This is we're trying to fit in to the European scene. We wear jerseys with pockets, not skin suits for a road race, you know." I was just like, well, this is like riding a crit in North America. And guess what, guys? There's some time bonuses up the road. Oh yeah, time bonuses. So you'll learn a lot about time bonuses during the Tour of Alberta, because I have a feeling in this race, in the Tour of Alberta this year, time bonuses are going to mean a lot to the guys who are racing this year, because even though we do have some hills and we do have a few mountain, like the Highwood Pass climb, these aren't big climbs like the guys race in Europe and other places in Colorado. So our race, our Tour of Alberta, will most likely be won on time bonuses. And it's going to be very strategic for the teams. So that was my point of being strategic. I had to figure out, what can I do? What can I do different? And that's always been the way I've approached cycling, is knowing that I'm not the strongest rider. What can I do to try to maximize the strategy and try to get, try to either win a stage or try to at least put myself in a winning position. So these time bonuses were sprinkled across this 80K stage. There was 3 10-second time bonuses to be won, 6 seconds for second and 4 seconds for third. But I figured if I could win all 3 time bonuses, I could take the overall lead, take the yellow jersey. So wearing the aerodynamic suit was part of it. You never know, right? You have to try. Jens Voigt, I don't know if you've heard of Jens Voigt. He's a German rider, rides for the Radio Shack team now. But his quote is classic. He says, if I sit in the race, in his German accent, if I sit in the race and I just sit there and do nothing, I have no chance to win. But if I attack and try to get away, I have a 10% chance to win. Oh, okay. Like Scott said, sometimes the guys can stay away, sometimes they can't. So that was my strategy, get away and try to get these time bonuses. So the race started, it was super nervous. First stage of the tour, everyone's super nervous. There's crashes, and no one really wants to make any efforts because they know it's 3 weeks, 4,000 kilometers ahead of them. So what does the guy do from 7-Eleven? This, you know, the attacks. So I roll up the road, get out of sight, put the hammer down, and go as hard as I can for the first few kilometers that I'm away to get a gap from the main field. And they really didn't know who we were, our strengths, our weaknesses. You know, they just figured, yeah, these guys from North America, they thought we were all American, unfortunately, but I set them straight after. So he just said, you know, let him go. He'll toast him. He'll toast himself. So that was, again, part of the strategy, because they didn't know us. They didn't know me, especially. So got away, and I had about a 5-minute lead, about 40K into the race, 40K to go. Went through the first time bonus, and my team car comes up beside me, and the directors, Mike Neal, this California guy, and he's, Alex, you have to go harder. You got to keep going. There's a break coming. They're going to catch it. Ex-hippie guy, you know, he's just a classic American bike racer. He was the first American to race in the Tour of Italy back in the 70s. I mean, he had full respect for Mike Neal. Anyway, we had all these characters on the team. Right? It was just amazing. So many great stories. But, so I keep going and just turn on the jets, put it in the 12th. That's another good term, except now it's the 11th. 12 was the biggest gear we had back then. The 53 teeth on the front, 12 on the rear cog was the biggest gear. Now you can go to 11 on the back. So they have bigger gears now than we did, but it's not, that's why they ride faster now. So I went as hard as I could, got through the second time bonus sprint, and I kept going. And Mike Neal comes, you gotta go faster, Alex, the brake's catching you. So I just go on a little harder, just dig deeper, dig deeper. This is the first stage of the Tour de France. 4,000 kilometers to go. And I'm going as hard as I can. How stupid is that? Didn't matter, right? It was all putting it all on the line just to get that yellow jersey. So I get through the third time bonus sprint, 32nd time bonus in total. The brake catches me. Phil Anderson, who's an Australian rider on the Dutch Panasonic team at the time, came past me, and if you see the video from CBS, you'll see him touch my leg, and he said, "Oi, Alex, you're in the jersey, come on." I said, how did Phil know that? This is before race radios, before the guys had radios in their ears with directors from the cars telling the guys in their ear what's going on. Phil just knew that. He knew I was the top place guy on overall from the prologue in that breakaway, and that I would, if he finished in that position, I would take the overall lead and take the yellow jersey. So he just knew it. And incidentally, Phil Anderson won the Commonwealth Games in Edmonton in 1978. Yeah, he won the road race that year. So 20K to go, 15K to go. Now, if you ever watch bike racing, you'll know that no one wants to commit themselves to the finish by staying in the front and giving everyone else a draft, that 30% advantage, all the way to the finish line. So what happens is what they call cat and mouse, another great term that we use in cycling. So some guys are at the front, but they don't want to stay at the front, so they'll drift back and go into the draft of the guys, let someone else take the lead. But of course, no one wants to take the lead because they're wasting energy, and then they won't have anything left for the sprint. But the flip side of that is, if the group, that breakaway you're in, doesn't stay away and doesn't keep working together, the peloton, who you know about, is going to catch. And then your chances of winning are done because you've been in the break expending energy, and the guys in the peloton who have been sitting at 30 or 40% easier, they've been given a free ride to the finish line, and the sprinters, the pure sprinters, have a chance to win the stage. So it's all these little things happening, the race within a race, these storylines that happen that most people aren't aware of until they start looking under the covers in the sport and understanding all these different strategies that take place. So, my goal, I realized, was I had to keep the breakaway from getting caught. Because there was one guy in the field, a guy named Eric van der Rotten, a Belgian rider who was a really good sprinter. If he would have won the final sprint and finished first in the stage, there's a bigger time bonus at the end. So I had to now figure out how I was going to get this breakaway to stay away. So Van der Roden couldn't win the sprint because he's a good sprinter, get the time bonus, and maybe take over my lead on the overall. So all these things are happening in my head. I'm going, okay, what do I have to do? So I realized I didn't care about winning the stage. I had to just try to keep the breakaway away from the main field, right to the end. So guys would, some guys would attack and try to get away from our breakaway. Guys that everyone would chase because everyone's legs are pretty fresh. Remember, it's kilometer 60 of 4,000. Yeah, so everyone's pretty rested, right? So they're attacking, they're chasing, but as soon as everyone chases and comes back together, a breakaway of 7 guys, no one wants to work. No one wants to keep the pace because they're all waiting for someone else to do the work. Well, guess who that was? That was me. That was me going to the front and working and creating a draft for the guys so we could keep the breakaway rolling along instead of slowing down and speeding up, try to